This was so weird in a lot of ways, but cool as well. And is it just
Yeah,
me, or did you kind of start hating the father towards the end there? Not
the
the grandfather, but the father.
I hated him from the get go. The next show we're going to be talking about is Kokkoku. Let me take a
Ah,
moment.
we watched both of these. We both just watched these. This one.
Yes, I just finished it hours ago.
This was so weird in a lot of ways, but cool as well. And is it just
Yeah,
me, or did you kind of start hating the father towards the end there? Not
the
the grandfather, but the father.
I hated him from the get go.
Just this whole like him psyching himself up about putting his foot down, and I'm gonna say we're gonna keep the stone, we're gonna use it for our own purposes. I'm like, really, dude, come on. With
And it's
everything that
like,
has happened and all the bad that has occurred, you're still on the I'm gonna keep the stone, I'm gonna use it, and I'm gonna make this family great. It's like, no.
yeah. So I hated like him talking like that because that was a complete contrast to what everybody else was trying to do. They're
Yeah.
like, no, this shouldn't be used for gaining, like just gaining anything. It should be used to like to save people, or it should not be used at all.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, we're gonna get rich, and I thought like I didn't like him saying that over and over, and then he said one sentence, and I'm like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but that's I still don't agree.
Hmm.
And the one sentence that he said is like, he's like, this family is like, basically says this family always has tons of bad luck. And I don't know the brother's story, like why he has a kid and he's not with the mom, or the mom's maybe living with them. I'm not sure. They didn't explain the mom too much. The mom of the kid. Um, so the guy, he's basically just at home playing video games, and there's like four generations of dudes in the house. You have
And
the
only the
sister.
females actually work.
Well, yeah. Well, it's one of the females works, but she's not part of the family. She's just the mother of the kid. The female that's in the family, remember she got rejected from like 19 interviews,
Yeah.
and I'm like, she seems like a reliable person. It's just maybe there is some kind of weird curse that they have.
Hmm.
And then as far as the dad, we don't know what troubles the dad has gone through, but I can see him like just for a second, just for a second, I was like, I see where he's coming from, because I'm pretty sure he's tried to do well and things just never turned out, so he kind of gave up. And then maybe his son either took directly after his dad, who's already broken down, or
Yeah.
he tried and failed, and then the sister tried and failed right away, like from the first episode. I like it's like I kind of see what he's talking about.
Hmm. Still, I'm just like,
Yeah,
dude, you realize with how much trouble, how much death, and how much destruction this has caused.
yeah,
Why do you want to? No, stop it.
yeah,
This should not
yeah.
be used.
Yeah, and
You
I was
know?
hoping that he didn't like. I hope that he wasn't capable enough to like get away and kick everybody out and end up being in that world and like messing things up. Because I was like,
Yeah.
no, it shouldn't be used like that.
Well, I did think it was funny that everyone else in the family seemed to have an ability that they could do in that world, yet
Mhm.
he was the only one who couldn't. He had no ability. Yeah, the son had
Oh,
ability, the daughter had ability, the grandfather had ability. I'm just like, no, stop.
mhm.
So, yeah. Either way, it was, I don't know, it was very weird. I liked the premise of it, to being able to uh, watch those things, or to be able to do the things they could do, stop time in that second. How am I going to say that? Stop time
Mhm.
in that second, and the ability to have just, those weird guardian things that came out and how they came about. I love that. That was like, well, that's cool.
Yeah,
Somebody whose mind's too weak, and that's why they say don't go in there. Stop going in there. So
yeah,
like, if somebody's mind's too weak, you're just gonna turn into one of those things. Don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You know.
definitely.
But towards the end, that was really rough. That was really rough. I mean, she spent what, almost half a year in that world.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't until she stumbled across randomly that the actual originator of all of that, where all of that came
Yeah.
across. And I don't know, that was cool, but it also kind of seemed a little forced. Like they couldn't
Yeah.
figure out how to tell. They're like, we want to wrap this up, but we don't know how.
Yeah.
So let's have instead of the creator of the stones be the originator of this, let's have this woman be the originator of this, and she can travel back and forth however she pleases,
Mm.
which was cool.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that seemed forced.
Yeah, and like they kind of tried to have the like, oh, she was different because when she lost her motivation and started like becoming part of the stasis, she ended up seeing a light, and when she went to the light, that light was the lady.
Mhm.
So I'm like, what did everybody else see whenever they
Yeah, I'm
like
curious
lost
about
all
that.
hope?
I'm curious about that too.
So like, did they see nothing, and or did they see the light and they just couldn't get to it? I'm not sure. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like they just kind of tried to button it up real quick because they couldn't think of a reason how to get her back. Because everybody's like, "You won't be able to come back," and then she's like, "I know, but
Yeah,
just get out of
yeah.
here."
Well,
So
I can't quite blame her on that. I mean, she just, she knew how it was going to happen after she destroyed the stone, and she made that choice herself.
yeah,
She destroyed the stone, but she knew that it was something that had to be done.
yeah,
So, once she knew that, and she was like, everyone was like, "Well, don't you realize?" She's like, "Of course I realize. Why
hmm,
wouldn't I realize?"
yeah,
But again, it's nice that it kind of wrapped up. At the same time, it's also kind of like, okay, you guys just kind of threw that in there. Come on.
yeah. I would say one thing that I didn't like is the villain, like the main villain. I don't know what it is about media these days where,
To die so bad. Like, why don't you die? God, just die.
well, yeah, it's like he was cool. He was a good villain up until the last few episodes.
Yeah.
Like right when he was backed into a corner, we're like, oh my god, they're gonna kill him finally, and they're like, no, no, but he had a troubled past, and he's actually just a good guy, and he just had a bad role in life. Look, like, see, here's his backstory, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. That's not fair. Like, how come he can't just be a bad guy, just be a bad person, and then they
Well,
poof
and
and get rid
I
of
don't
him?
know. At least his reasoning behind it was unique.
Yeah,
I would say it's not so much like the only reason why he was going to kill them was because he didn't want them potentially getting in his way later on.
yeah,
That was the only reason. Had he
mhm,
known that they were never going to be a problem, he wouldn't have bothered with them. And he would have
yeah,
done what he wanted to do, which was just live to see the end of everything, to get all the way to see the conclusion, and be the only one to be able to know what happens, how humanity changes and everything, which I thought was cool. I was like, well,
yeah.
you're not really bugging it. You're just kind of wanting to be a watcher.
Yeah, I agree that that part was cool. The only problem with that is once he got that power, then he's like, okay, I have this power. What can I do with it? Can I kill anybody? And then the things won't show up. And then,
Well, again, he was testing his limitations, which I see
yeah,
that there's good reason to do that. You don't, you want to see how far you can go and how far you shouldn't go, but at the
yeah,
same time, it was just like I think some of the those squid things, even though he was kind of in control, they still kind of had an influence on him.
yeah.
So it wasn't a complete control; it was just a most control.
I wonder
So,
if he like talked to them and like, well, actually, somebody explained his whole plot. Like they overheard what he was talking about, and then he kind of told them. They're like, oh, he's trying to become some kind of immortal thing, and then
yeah.
they're like, no, we got to stop him. Um,
Well, the only reason they had to stop him is because he was going to kill them.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted. I kind of wish that he just stayed pure evil, and because they're like, no, he's really like Sly. And look, now he's a baby. You won't hurt a baby, would you? And they're like, no, let's take him with us and raise him as our own. I'm like, come on.
I was kind of curious about that because that kind of threw me for a second when she was on the floor at the end of it, and that kid came up, and it took me a second to realize, oh, that's the baby, and now the baby's calling her mom. So now she's a mom, just like the other. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Um.
it's interesting. It's unique. I would say for those out there, it's worth a watch because it is unique.
Yeah. It is
But
unique because it's like if it's a freezing time story. It's
yeah,
not really a traveling time story. Like you don't have the issues where it's like
someone
butterfly
makes,
effect.
yeah, someone makes a mistake somewhere and it has detrimental effects later on or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like the reverse of a time travel story,
Yeah, I'd see that.
which is very cool. So, if anybody's interested in that one, you can check it out. It's over on Amazon Prime. So, but
Unfortunately.
yeah,
And it took a completely different tone than the beginning of the like the first three episodes would have said to me.
hmm,
I mean, there was I know this is not necessarily like a typical romance story, but they do have a love interest there.
hmm.
But even then, with that love interest, I didn't even mind it a tiny bit at all.